Hi everyone, my name is Abel Montalva, and today I will be walking through the AppArmor, the HTTPS, and how I configure and harden both Linux and Windows servers in the lab environment. I will explain the research tools and show how everything connects to what we did in our server setup. Now, a little overview. In this presentation, I'm going to walk through the main ideas behind the AppArmor and the HTTPS and explain in a simple way how each one works and why they matter for security servers. I also will talk about the differences between HTTP and HTTPS and how we use applications like IIS on Windows and Apache on Linux to set up secure web services. Also, I'll go over the hardening steps I completed during the lab on both systems and show how I verify everything using Nmaps to make sure the right ports were open. Overall, the goal of this presentation is to connect the research with what I actually configure in the lab so it all makes sense together. HTTP and what is HTTP? So basically it's the secure version of HTTP. It protects our traffic by using SSL or TLS encryption. It keeps data private and safe from attacks like sniffing or tampering. HTTP runs on port 443, which is what we configure in the lab. Next, HTTP versus HTTPS could be very confusing if you don't know much about it. One of the things that the professor asked us to include is the insecure counterpart. The HTTPS is insecure because everything is sent to a plain text, while HTTPS is the secure protocol and uses encryption. In our scans, using Nmaps, we saw port 80 open first, and then after configuration, we saw port 443 for HTTPS. Also, while reading the instructions that the professor gave us, there are two applications to use HTTPS. One of them is Windows Server that we use IIS and which I install and configure. On Linux, we could choose between Apache or Tomcat, and I choose Apache because it is more common and easier to harden for this project. IIS hardening recommendations. We have three of them, which is one is focused on reducing exposure, which is first, it allows only HTTPS and removing unnecessary bindings. Second, is blocking unused ports by using Windows Defender firewall. On third is securing the certificate. For the lab, we use a self-signed certificate, but in real environment we will use a trust one. For Apache hardening recommendations, it has Apache has many hardening steps. Directory listing needs to be disabled so people cannot browse server folders. We also I forced HTTPS only so nothing runs over HTTP. And last, we disable weak SSL ciphers These steps make Apache safer and reduce the attack surface. If I call it Apache, it's because it's I don't know. It reminds me of a word in Spanish. What is the AppArmor? Um, Basically, it's a mandatory access control system built into Linux. It works with profiles that tells the system which files or actions a program can use. This limits the impact if something gets compromised. On the next PP slide, we have a armor hardening and commands, or the command that I use to meet the instructions. I also researched the AppArmor hardening. First, profiles should run in enforce mode so they block violations. Second, custom profiles protect specific services like Apache. Third, the AppArmor logs can be reviewed for security issues. And the command we use to check the AppArmor is the AA status, which shows the number of profiles loaded and enforced. And the next one we have all the lab work I completed during my lab. I In the lab I was able to complete both the Windows and the Linux parts, and it helped me understand the process a lot better. I feel like that application is also really good compared with the ones that I used. Um, on the Windows side, I installed the IIS, created the SSL certificate, add the HTTPS bindings, and open a port 443 in the firewall. I I restarted the IIS to make sure everything was running correctly. I messed up once on that one, but then I figured out again. On the Linux server, I configured the static IP address, work with the AppArmor by checking its status and confirming the profiles. I make sure all the important services were active, and I also enable the HTTPS support through Apache, and I made sure it was showing up correctly. When I ran the Nmap, it confirmed that the port 443 was open on Windows and that Linux had a port 80 running and the AppArmor active, so which showed me that both systems were configured the right way. Overall, this lab made the whole setup process feel much clearer and easier to understand compared to my past classes, as I said in the beginning. Yeah, that's true. And for the last part of the assignment, the professors want us to reach the point where the 443 show up on Nmap or Zenmap after creating the certificate, adding the binding, and allowing the firewall rule. Nmap finally showed on the port 443 open, which means the HTTPS is working. Finally, to end this video, my first video on YouTube, that I've never done this before, this assignment show how important proper configuration is. HTTPS protects traffic. Also, IIS and Apache need the right hardening steps. AppArmor adds another layer of security on Linux, and tools like Nmap help verify everything is working. This is some of the references that I used when I was doing the research a little bit. And well, yeah, thank you guys for everything. And I hope everyone is doing a great job on their video. And thank you, Professor, for making us getting out of our comfort zone by making these videos and trying something new. I've never done a video, so this is very interesting. Thank you.